Section 1.4 just says further applications of linear equations. And we're going to be using the same steps that we did before, where we figure out what are the variables, what are the equations, using logic to put them together. And then to finish it up, we'll use algebra to solve for it. So we have about a half hour left. And for problem number 1, it says Mohammed has a box of coins containing only dimes and half dollars. There are 26 coins with a total value of $8.60. How many of each type? All right. We don't know how many dimes and we don't know how many quarters. But if you remember back to the last lesson that we did, remember the investment problem? We had so much money invested at one rate, and whatever's left over was the other amount of money. Let's do the same thing here. Let's say that D represents the number of dimes that we have. And when we're talking about a total value of $8.60, this means that the value of dimes plus the value of half dollars equals $8.60. The way that we figure out the value of something, so we know dimes are worth 10 cents, right? If I had 2 dimes, how much would that be worth? 20 cents. We do the amount that each is worth. The amount is equal to the amount for each times the quantity. This is where we have to use a little bit of logic. The value of the dimes would be 10 cents times the number of dimes. We're going to add the value of the half dollars. Well, half dollars are 50 cents, but how many half dollars are there? So we have 26 total coins. We have D dimes. So how would we be able to write how many half dollars we have? We don't know how many dimes there are, but we know that there's D of them. What if we had 10 dimes? If there's 26 total and we have 10 dimes, how many half dollars would there be? 16. We take the total minus the number of dimes, and whatever's left over is the number of half dollars. So combination of using our variables that we defined with using logic to put some equations together gives us this. We could solve an equation like this pretty easily. So let's go ahead and distribute the 50 cents. This would be 0.10D plus 13 minus 0.50D is equal to 860. Combine like terms. 0.10 minus 0.50 is equal to negative 0.40. Solve this now, so let's subtract 13 on both sides. We'll get negative 0.40D is equal to 8.6 minus 13 is negative 4. We divide by 0.40. We get the number of dimes is 11. If there's 26 total, 26 minus 11 gives us 15 half dollars. right, let's take a look at number 2. Problem number 2, it says 2 cars leave the same town at the same time. One goes north at 60 miles an hour, the other goes south at 45 miles an hour. And how many hours will they be 420 miles? 420, it should be miles. This is a typo. Sorry about that. How many hours will they be 420 miles apart? My mistake there. So one thing that we could do is we know that distance equal to rate times time. And if we have one car going north, that distance is equal to rate times time. And he's going north at 60 miles an hour. So 60 would go in for R. That's the car going north. We also have another car that's going south. And their distance is equal to 45 miles an hour. Call this the distance for the southern car, and the top one we'll call it the distance for the northern car. Question is, after how many hours will they be 420 miles apart? So one's going north, one's going south. One's that total distance from this person and this person equal to 420 miles. Okay. So the total distance equal the distance from the person going north plus the distance from the person going south. They're both going in different directions. What do we want the total distance to be? 420, right? And that would equal the distance from the first person, 60 times time, plus the distance from the second person, 45 times time, where time is in hours. So if you take the distance from the first person plus the distance from the second person, that should be 420. Once you have it set up like this, together, combine our like terms. 60 plus 45 is 105. Divide by 105. 420 divided by 105 gives us a total time of 5 hours. It would be the same thing if you have somebody going east and somebody else going west. If they're going in opposite directions, you just add up their distance equals rate times time plus their distance equals rate times time. Let's take a look at number 3. All right, so Chris is taking, he's driving to work and then he also takes the bus. It says that when he drives himself, it takes him a half hour. When he takes the bus, it takes 3/4 of an hour. The average rate of the bus is 12 miles per hour less than his rate driving. Find the distance to work. So I think we're going to need to get organized here. Let's talk about, remember, distance is equal to rate times time. So we're going to have one for the car. And we're also going to have one for the bus. We don't know how far that distance is. We also don't know the speed of the car, but we know that it takes him a half hour. So the distance is 0.5 times r. That's if he's driving. If he's taking the bus, we don't know how far that distance is. We don't know. We know that it takes 3/4 of an hour. So time is 3/4. 4.75. What would the rate be? This is saying that the rate is 12 miles per hour less than driving. We don't know how fast he's driving, but we know that it's 12 miles an hour less. So we've seen this a lot today. How do we say 12 less than the rate he's driving? R minus 12, exactly, right? See, this isn't that hard if you break it down into small pieces. R minus 12. So that's great. That's really, really good. We're almost all set up. There's one other piece we have to tie together. The distance that the car is going is the same as the distance the bus is going. So the distance of the car is equal to the distance the bus is going. Which means 0.5 r is equal to 0.75 times r minus 12. I just substituted in the distance for each the car and the bus. At this point, the algebra is easy. We talked about how to solve equations in our last class. Let's distribute the 0.75. We get 0.5 r is equal to 0.75 r minus 12, 9. Get our variables on the same side by subtracting 0.75 r. That negative 0.25 r is equal to negative 9. We divide both sides by negative 0.25. We get r is equal to 36. This is the speed of the car. And that's nice, but that's not the answer to the question, right? Does anyone know what the answer to this question would be? That's the 36 times 1/2, right? Yeah, we want to know the distance to work, and we could either plug 36 in here, we could plug 36 in here. The second one would be a little bit faster. So if we know that the distance of the car is equal to r times 1/2, 36 times 1/2 gives us a distance of 18 miles. That would be the actual answer. Okay. A couple more problems to go. I just want to reiterate what I said in the first class. I made the homework assignments due the day of the exam because I know we're all working adults. I don't want to put arbitrary deadlines on them if you have an emergency or you can't get things done. But please do not put off the homework until the day of the test. If you do that, it's going to be too much to study. So I hope you're keeping up with my math lab as the semester goes on. All right. So let's talk about number 4. It says find the value of x for the triangle provided in class. I'll give you a triangle. triangle. Let's say this is 2x plus 7 degrees. Let's say that this is x plus 61 degrees. Let's say that this is x degrees. Be able to solve for x. So we have to try to remember a little bit from geometry. All the angles of a triangle, they add up to what? 180, right? So that's the connector, right? So if we add up all the angles, we get angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3. That's equal to 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and substitute in and solve this equation. So angle 1 is 2x plus 7. Angle 2 is x plus 61. Angle 3 is x. If we add all those angles together, we get 180 degrees. Let's combine our like terms. This one should be pretty straightforward here. We just distribute 1 to get rid of the parentheses. This would just be 2x plus 7 plus x plus 61. X equals 180. Then we have an x, and a 2x. So that's 4x. 7 plus 61 is 68. We subtract 68 on both sides. Yeah, 4x is equal to 180 minus 68 is 112. Divided by 4 gives us 28 degrees. That's what x is. Copy that down. And then we will finish class with our last problem today. All right, so let's go ahead and finish with this last problem. We have 3 consecutive integers. An integer is just a number without any decimals or fractions. So like -3, 5, 10, those are integers. We have 3 consecutive integers. So let's say we have the first integer. We have the second integer. We have the third integer. So it says that they're consecutive. What does that mean? Right after each other, and they're an integer, right? So if you have the number 2, what would be the next consecutive integer? Not 4, 3, right? So 2, then 3, then 4. If I gave you a test at consecutive days in this class, you'd have one today, tomorrow, the next day. So the first integer, we don't know what it is. Let's just call it x. What would be the second integer if it's the next consecutive one? X plus 1. The next one would be 1 more than that, right? So it'd be x plus 1 plus 1. or just x plus 2. We have our three consecutive integers, x plus 1, and x plus 2. And according to this, it says that the sum of the first and the third is 49 less than 3 times the second. That's a lot to unpack. So let's go step by step. The sum of the first and third. So the sum of the first and third. Okay, well, the first one is x. The third one is x plus 2. So that takes care of the sum of the first and third. Is, what does that mean in math language? Equals 49 less than 3 times the second. So remember, we've seen that a few times today. 49 less than something else. Is the 49 going in front or behind it? Behind it. So the way that we would write this is 3 times the second minus 49. 3 times the second is 3 times x plus 1 minus 49. Clearly, the hardest part is just setting this up. Right? The way that you'll get better is by practice. You can go ahead and finish it. You don't need me to do it. I'll do it anyway, but what we're going to do is combine like terms. X plus x is 2x. 3 times x, 3 times 1 is just 3x plus 3. We'll combine our like terms. So 3 minus 49 is negative 46. The x is on the same side. C. Divide by negative 1. X is 48, which means our first number is 48. The second number would be what? 49, and the